Sawadee Krap. It's such an honor to be here, and thank you very much for inviting me. For today, I'll a bit talk about the benefit of the assessment. And for my presentation, we're going to hold panel discussion with the teachers. So thank you very much for your attention. So let me firstly introduce myself. I'm Jun Usaka. I work for the Benesse Corporation, which is a private education company in Japan. And I'm also concurrently serving as a president of Second Language Testing Inc., as well as board of director of Berlitz. Berlitz is language education company operating globally, and actually there are 2 Berlitz learning centers in Bangkok as well. And let me briefly introduce Benesse. So the Benesse name came from 2 Latin words. Bene means well, esse means being. So the Benesse, as a company name, represents the company's philosophy, meaning that Benesse helps the people good to live. And where Benesse started? Well, it's back in 1955. At the time, the Mr. Fukutake, who was a former elementary school teacher, founded Benesse. And he began promoting the student handbooks as well as other materials utilized by the schools. That's the very beginning of the Benesse. At the time, the Benesse was a very small company in the countryside of Japan. But now Benesse has more than 20,000 employees globally. And Benesse is offering various types of educational product and services to all age group to support the people's lifelong learning and growth. And especially nowadays, because of the Japanese government reformation in terms of the educational policies, the Benesse is taking a more and more important role to support the schools and the teachers. And actually, the Benesse, the school business division, is offering various types of educational products and services, including the diagnostic assessment product. And the last year, we actually delivered a lot of test and assessment product. And the number of the test takers last year was more than 11 million annually. So because Benesse has nearly 60 years of experiences of developing and delivering assessment products, so by taking that advantage of our asset and experiences, we are offering the consulting services to Japanese schools from elementary school, junior high school, and the college and universities. So let me take a moment to explain about the benefit of the assessment. There are 2 folds. One is for teachers, one is for students. The teachers, by administering the assessment, the teachers can understand the students, the level of understanding, and also teachers can objectively understand the students' strength and weakness. So by doing that, the teachers can understand where their students are and to take the right action steps going forward. As for students, by the same token, the students can understand where they are good at and where they are struggling at. And by understanding of where they are, they will be able to understand in which areas they needed to focus more on to make an improvement going forward. So by understanding of this, through the assessment, both teachers' guidance and the students' learning will improve through the assessment. So let me take a concrete example of Japan's situation. So this picture shows the typical high schools, Japanese high schools. And the high schools are utilizing the formative assessment that Benesse offers. So they are basically on average 4 times administration in a year. And generally speaking, I know that Japanese people like to take tests. But the reason why the 4 times test administration is not because of the Japanese people likes to take tests, but there are reasons. And in April, this is a very beginning of the academic year in Japan. So by administering the assessment, the teachers, schools and the teachers can understand the students, the newcomer students' academic levels, as well as their learning habits and the motivation. And in July and in October, the schools administer the assessment to understand the progress of the students' learning, as well as to understand how effectively their teachings working amongst the students. And the reason why Japanese schools administer the assessment in January is because if the schools administer the assessment in January, they will be able to get the result by the end of February. So the schools and the teachers are actually utilizing the data result for the year-end one-on-one counseling to each student. So the benefit of assessment are basically twofold, as I already mentioned. But the data results are actually utilized by the school teachers, especially the classroom teachers, a lot in Japan. The utilization are basically twofold. One is for group guidance, and another is individual guidance. So as for the group guidance, typically the Japanese schools and teachers prepares reflection worksheet. And these reflection worksheets is distributed to all students. And the teachers ask the students to look at their assessment result. Where is their strength? How they are doing good at? Or where is the opportunity for the improvement? So by actually writing down, the students are writing down their strength and weakness, their further action plans, that will be very effective for the students to take the concrete action steps going forward. And the school teachers, especially the classroom teachers, utilize the data for individual mentoring and counseling purposes as well, because every student receives their result. And usually the Japanese school teachers it's not long time, it's very short, but they have the one-on-one interviews with all the students in the class by looking at the assessment result together. And the teachers ask questions about where you're struggling at, or where is the improvement opportunities for you, or do you have any concerns, or do you have any issues? So by having this one-on-one mentoring and counseling processes, the students can better perform and can get the advice from the teachers directly. So the process is institutionalized as a part of the Japanese school culture by utilizing the assessment. And the benefit of the assessment is, of course, that drives PDCA cycles at schools. So P stands for plan, D stands for do, and C stands for checking, and A stands for actions. So by administering the assessment, the schools, teachers, and the students can get the data results. And those data results are objective data. And they can understand where they're good at and where they're struggling at. And by utilizing this, both schools, teachers, and the students can understand the right and the correct action steps going forward. So these PDCA cycles in the schools is a kind of as part of the Japanese school system, the culture, by utilizing the assessment. And the student changes because the teacher's instruction and the interactions changes. That changes the classroom environment and classroom grade. And grades changes, and education in the school changes, and eventually the regional education quality will improve. So by taking the assessment can bring such a value to the schools. And let me a little bit touch upon the AFL. This AFL, Assessment for Learning, has just launched the collaboration between Accent and Benesse. The first administration this year was in May, and we had 126 schools took the AFL. And this test is comprised of the math and science test combined with the questionnaires. And next year, we're going to introduce English test as well. And let me show you the overall Thailand result of the AFL. So this is the distribution. So the maximum math test score is 100 and 100 points for science. So that maximum score by combining these two subjects are 200. And this is the bell-shaped distribution, and the mean score is around 65 or 70. And if we take a look at each subject a bit further, this is the math analysis. And the left-hand side, as you can see here, shows this group is the students who took math. The score is greater than the average, but performed not so much in science. And this one is both math and science was above average, right? So if you can look at this group, we can understand that the highest performing group of the students, especially good at statistics and probability in math. And this is the science subject result. By the same token, if we look at the highly performing group, so especially this group is performing very well in biology. So this is the trend and the fact that we identified by the administration. And as already mentioned, the AFL also distribute the questionnaires, and we analyze the cross-tab analysis by combining the subject test scores and the questionnaire result. And if you look at this, the horizontal axis shows that the score group, so 80 to 100, this is the highest score group, and this is the lowest score group. And as you can see, how long do you usually study a day? Of course, the more scores the students get, there is a tendency that the students study a lot. So this is pretty obvious. But we found out a very interesting result in Thailand by administering AFL. So this question is about, do you think math is difficult to learn? Now, of course, the high schoolers says not so much, right? But generally speaking, in any group, the students believe that learning math is challenging. But we found a very interesting result because do you like math? In any score group, the students answer that they like math. If we look at top two boxes, even in the lowest score group, they almost more than 60, or I would say the 60, nearly 65% of the students answered they like math. And also, if we look at this question, do your school teachers teach the content that you don't understand or did any mistakes? Across all the score group, the student answers nearly yes and yes. So meaning that students trust Thailand teachers a lot. So this is a very unique point that I found out compared to Japan, because there's a tendency that the lower score group students tend to answer no, or the exceptionally high score group say no because they are relying on the cram schools. But this is the uniqueness of the Thailand data result. And if we look at this, the students are very much motivated to learn math. They are looking for the different way to solve the math problems. And also the students are looking for learning math, even though it's not, even if we weren't asked in the entrance exam. So overall, the Thailand student has a great motivation in learning. And also, this is a very good the result and great asset, I believe, that Thailand take advantages of. Do you enjoy your school life? Any score group, students answered nearly yes or yes. They are enjoying the schools. So they are satisfying. Students are satisfied at school life. So this is the great asset that Thailand schools takes advantage going forward. To conclude my presentation, looking at the subject test score is just a result, but it's almost like an iceberg. Below that sea level, there are many different aspects behind the students' academic performance, of course. One is, of course, learning habits, and one is, of course, the motivation for learning. So by administering the AFL, we help schools and teachers to visualize those components as well, so that we will be able to offer the better teaching and learning experiences to the students. Axon and Benesse very much looking forward to contributing to improve the Thailand school education. Thank you very much. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much. So now, please join me.